Be confident, be bold, be authentic, but don't forget to take action. This is Ordinary to Badass, where our stories empower women to step into the spotlight of their own lives and pursue what they're truly passionate about. It's time to step into the arena and become more than just extraordinary. It's time to become a badass with your host, Marie Sonneman.
Welcome to Ordinary to Badass, episode number 109. In this episode, you are going to hear 3 reasons why Andy Vargo is so badass. I really loved having Andy on the show. He's a good friend, but man, he just killed it. He gave so many actionable takeaways that you can implement today, and that's absolutely my favorite when there's something like tangible that you can put into your daily routine. And so I totally loved it. Andy has a podcast called Own Your Awkward, and he also has a book called Own Your Awkward Life Changes, the complete handbook for mastering change. So definitely, if you haven't listened to the last episode, go back and listen. But if you're short on time and you want a quick recap, then listen to this episode. If you like what you hear, then you can go back and listen to Andy's episode later. If you are liking these episodes, I would love for you to head on over to iTunes and leave a 5-star review or rating and review, and then screenshot it, send it to me on Instagram at Ordinary to Badass. That way I can make sure to say thank you. I know you are busy. It takes a lot of time it's your precious time. So it does mean something to me when you go and leave a review. This podcast is a lot of work, right? And I am not griping about that by any means, but it's a lot of work. And so it's nice when you find something of value that you share it with a friend or you leave a review so that this can get into the hands of other badass women who need to hear it. All right, enough on that. Let's get to the episode. Welcome to Ordinary to Badass. Whether you're ordinary or badass, I am so glad that you are here. Today, we are going to talk about 3 reasons why Andy Vargo is so badass. All right, the 3 reasons why I think he's badass is because 1, Andy owns his awkward. 2, he talks about noticing the good things about yourself. And 3 is his goal setting process. Let's get to it. All right. So when I was talking to Andy, he talked about his podcast and how sometimes there would be awkwardness, but he wasn't leaning into it. And one of his friends kind of said, why don't you just lean into it? And that's how the whole Own Your Awkward came about. And Andy really just did the work to start leaning into any of his awkwardness, but here's the thing, we all have awkward things, right? And so it's really about just owning those and leaning into it and accepting it. Andy said, what are you embarrassed about and trying to hide? Because that's the thing that you feel so much more comfortable once you just let that out. When you have to keep something hidden, then it feels like you're not being authentic to who you are. And that just shows, that just emanates from you, whether you know it or not. It is a weight bearing on you also. So Andy talked about how at 40 years old, he made a complete life change because he was married and wasn't happy. And so at 40, he got a divorce and came out of the closet and just started doing things that were authentic to who he was. And he had talked about that when he was lying in bed next to his wife, he would just be paranoid that he would sleep talk, right? Because he was afraid that he would say what he really felt. Have you ever felt that way before? Oh man, I know that I have, and it's super stressful because when you're just not happy, it just kind of emanates from your pores, or it's almost hard to contain that information. And I know I felt that way before I got a divorce. Like, I just felt like I knew I was not happy and I knew something had to change. And so I was thinking, like, I would say that even in my sleep, like, I want a divorce, or, you know, say something embarrassing or something mean in my sleep, because it's just, I was to that point. And so sometimes you just get to that point where you can't hide it anymore. All of the stress and the overwhelm of just trying to keep it inside is so hard. So I love that Andy not only just revamped his life at 40 years old and took charge, took steps each day to get to where he wanted to be. I love that. And then not only did he do that, but he started the Own Your Awkward brand, and he teaches people how they can make these changes in their life and how they can really just get comfortable in their own skin. We spend so much time in our life trying to resist who we really are, trying to push up against what we really want and just be like, no, I'm going to resist that. I'm not going to do that. I can't do that. Even though in your gut, you know it's you. You know it's what you want to be doing. But you might just be you might just be scared to admit it, right? So anytime that you can own your awkward, that you can become just a little bit more of yourself, that is such a good thing. And you know what? If you struggle with it, that's okay. That's the human element. We all do. But there's nothing wrong with finding yourself a supportive group of people. Finding yourself people who are willing to push themselves too. Step out of their comfort zone. Andy, again, said you don't have to take a big leap. It's just the small steps. Or you can hire yourself a coach like Andy. Somebody who can help you walk through those steps and move to the next phase of your life. But you would be shocked what a relief it is once you finally start just owning who you are. And I think it just starts at one step, one tiny step. Keep taking one little step to become more of who you are today. So where in your life do you want to make a change? What do you want to do to become a little bit more of who you are? All right. The second thing that I thought was so badass about Andy Vargo was he said to start noticing everything that's good about yourself. Andy pays attention to the good things and tries to be positive. He says he keeps a 3x5 note card of all of the good things that he has done, all of the good choices that he made that day. And he talked about how he was trying to eat healthy and really focusing on every time he made a healthy choice. Like if it was drinking more water or eating fruits and vegetables. And then he would put a little tally mark on that 3x5 card again. I love this. I thought this was so amazing. We spend so much time beating ourselves up, thinking of all the bad things that you've done, like all of the bad choices that you've made, instead of focusing on the good choices. Friend, you are inherently good. I know this. I know this because you would not be listening to this podcast if you weren't. So it's time that you started noticing some of those good things about yourself. Start noticing the good things that you're doing, and don't be so hard on yourself. How do we get through this life being so mean to ourselves or hard on ourselves? We often say things to ourselves that we wouldn't let anyone else say to us. Or you might not let your worst enemy say to you, right? Or your best friend. I don't know. You wouldn't let any of them say that stuff to you, probably. So why is it okay for you to talk to yourself like that? Start noticing the good in your life. Whatever your goal is that you're working towards, start noticing all of the good things that you're doing to get there. Instead of focusing on the bad. Because as we know, what you focus on grows. So if you focus on all of the bad things that you've done, all of the mistakes that you've made, the hiccups along the way, then that just keeps getting bigger and bigger and bigger. And that's all you seem to notice. And you don't know any of the good things that you are doing. But if you start keeping a 3x5 card with tally marks of all the good things you're doing towards your goal, all of the slight improvements that you're making, if you're not drinking, if you're on a health journey, like Andy was talking about, and you're not drinking any water, okay, let's just talk about 1 cup of water, right? And just put a little hash mark, a little check mark saying, okay, I did it once. That's all you have to do. You don't have to start drinking 8 glasses of water a day. Just start with the 1. Or if one day you choose something a little bit healthier over something unhealthy, okay, that's a win too. Just start noticing the little things that you're doing. And maybe if you talk bad to yourself or you talk down to yourself, then you fight back, right? Like I always like to say, when I say something negative to myself, then I say, that's not true because. And then I list 3 reasons why it's not true. And sometimes I even try to think of a way to flip that in my head so that I have a more positive way of referencing myself. So then you can do that too. And then that would be a win. That would be another check mark if you didn't believe all of the thoughts that you think. You didn't believe all of the thoughts that are in your head, right? Just because it comes up and it's a thought doesn't mean it's true. So take that as a win. When you're talking better to yourself, saying nice things to yourself, that would deserve a check mark in my opinion. So yes, I absolutely love how Andy talked about being positive and focusing on the good, because you are good. And quite frankly, it's about time that you realized it. All right. The third and final thing that I thought was so badass about what Andy does, his practice for goal setting. I loved it. I thought it was so great. So there was a couple things that Andy said about goal setting, and the first one was back to that dang 3x5 card, and Andy picks one goal that he's trying to accomplish and then lists all of the possibilities that are out there. So Andy talked about how he wants to improve his business or grow his business. And he said, is there an action that I need to take to move this forward? So Andy listed all of his opportunities, say one of them was speaking or getting on podcasts or on a YouTube video, getting in a magazine article, whatever it is. You list all of those opportunities and then pick one. Say the first thing he wants to do is get on another podcast. Then it's okay, what's one action that I can take to move this forward? And so maybe that's reaching out to 10 different people. Well, that's wrong because he said one action step that you can take. So maybe you reach out to one person, right? Rome wasn't built in a day. You can take small micro steps towards your goals. And then something that I really like that Andy said is he measures his goal, but if he's taking the action step as opposed to the result. Oh my gosh, I absolutely love that. I think the bread and butter is in the daily action steps. It's in being persistent and consistent and doing things over and over and over again. It's not about whether you get to that end goal or not. And really, oftentimes, I don't want to say the end goal is let down, but it's the journey along the way that makes you so badass. It's the showing up over and over and over again, putting in the work, putting in the sweat and the hard times. It's pushing through that and continuing on towards your goal. That's the bread and butter. It's not the final goal. So why do we always measure ourselves based on the final goal? Yeah, that final goal, that growth of your business or running that marathon, running the 5K, doing the thing, that seems pretty cool. But there's so much greatness in the day in and the day out. So are you measuring yourself based on your final goal? If you're not there yet, are you beating yourself up because you think that you're not far enough along? What have you done? What good things have you done to get towards your goal? What steps are you taking? If you're not taking any, what steps can you take? So, I don't know. Maybe we've had it wrong all along. Maybe we're measuring ourselves by our goals as opposed by our action steps. I'm all about taking action. I think that it is so helpful. Even the teeny tiny baby steps. It does not have to be huge. Just take the tiniest step you can. If you're scared, take the tiniest step you possibly can every single day. Or 3 times a week. I don't care. Just take a step. That's it. Take a step. So I absolutely love talking to Andy. I could have went on with like 100 badass things because he had just so many concrete takeaways. And I love that. So just a quick recap. 3 things that I thought were so badass about Andy Vargo is he owns his awkward, how he says to look at everything good about yourself or focus on the good. And then third is his process for goal setting. Did you like that episode as much as I did? If so, man, I want to reach out. I want you to reach out to Andy on Instagram. Tell him what you thought of this episode. It is so much. Andy put himself out there a lot, right? He told us about a lot of the hard, embarrassing, awkward moments, the things that really took some grit to get through. So it's always nice when we share with him and say, hey, this is what I learned from your episode. This is what your episode helped me to do. This is what I thought was badass. You don't have to agree with me. You could think there's something else that was badass, but let him know. Because man, it is hard putting yourself out there. And he did so and was very, very open. So let's show Andy some love. Take a screenshot of his episode or this episode and put it in your Instagram stories. Tag Andy at Awkward Career and tag me at Ordinary to Badass. Tell us what your takeaways were. Tell us what he talked about that helped you make a tiny change or change your way about thinking about something, right? All right. With that, we'll end our show. To all the badass women out there staying in the arena, wherever you are, whatever you are doing, own it and get after it.
Now that you've listened to this episode of Ordinary to Badass, we want to hear from you. Go to our website, ordinarytobadass.com/podcast, and submit your own experience on how you took your life from ordinary to badass and get the chance to be on a future spotlight episode of the show. That's ordinarytobadass.com/podcast. While you're waiting for the next episode of the show, wipe off the sweat, dust off the dirt, and get back in the arena.